Zone 1 versus Zone 2 running, and why you need both in your training. So, I'm Dr. Ray Peralta, physical therapist and run coach. And for the past 10 years, I've helped hundreds of runners hit personal records and stay injury free by training smarter and not harder. So, in this video, I'm going to show you why both Zone 1 and Zone 2 training matter for every runner and why skipping one of them might be holding you back. Here's what we'll cover: what Zone 1 and Zone 2 actually are, when and how to use each zone, the science and myths behind both, and how beginners and experienced runners alike can benefit from doing both, sometimes even without running at all. And by the way, if you want to learn how to run pain-free, check out my free training video, link in the description. So what is Zone 1 and Zone 2? Zone 1 is typically 50 to 60% of your heart rate max. This is a recovery level intensity. Feels like you're doing something, but almost nothing. Think like a slow, leisurely walk down the park. Maybe light movement after a hard workout. If you're a more experienced runner, this might be a very easy jog or slow jog. Zone 2, 60 to 70% of your heart rate max. This is your classic easy run zone. You can hold a conversation, it's conversational, and you're burning mostly fat and building that aerobic engine. So where does each fit into your training? Zone 1 is best for warm-ups and cool downs, recovery runs after hard sessions, adding more movement in without adding stress on tired days where you're maybe trying to build up your mileage. And if you're a complete beginner, it could just be walking or brisk walking for a beginner, right? So if you're trying to improve your fitness for running, but you can't really handle the higher zones, you actually just do a lot of walking volume, which will get you fitter to help you tolerate. And then as you get fitter, you could actually make Zone 1 a jog. But in the very beginning, your Zone 1 might actually just be walking. Zone 2 is used for foundation runs, aka also known as your easy runs. This is what kind of makes up the bulk. If you follow like an 80-20 approach, 80% of your runs would be actually in the Zone 2 category. And yes, Zone 1 can be added to the Zone 2. For example, a typical easy run, you may warm up in Zone 1 and then do the bulk of the run in Zone 2 and then cool down back in Zone 1 again, right? So this may be jog, easy run, jog, or walk, easy run, walk. Same thing with long runs, right? You may warm up in Zone 1 and then do the bulk of the long run in Zone 2 and then cool down back again in Zone 1. So most of your weekly mileage, again, if you're following an 80-20 approach, right? If let's say 5 days a week you're training, you plan to like do aerobic running type exercise, then 4 days a week will be in that Zone 2, and then 1 day will be in the higher zone, Zone 3, Zone 4, Zone 5, right? So 80-20 approach. And within that Zone 2, portions of that Zone 2 may also be some Zone 1, right? With the warm up and cool downs, or in between hard workouts, or if you're just a complete beginner, you can't really handle Zone 2, you may actually do more Zone 1. So there's a myth that Zone 2 is all that matters, right? A lot of runners think that, oh, you should only do Zone 2. It's the most important training zone. But here's the truth. Sure, Zone 2 builds endurance, but Zone 1 is key for recovery and movement quality. And if you're a beginner, sometimes you can't even handle Zone 2 that well. Like, you actually may need more Zone 1 because it's hard for you to recover from even Zone 2, right? So often beginners can't tolerate that much Zone 2 because they go from Zone 2, Zone 3 right away. They need to build up their Zone 1 just training volume, right? They may just have to do lots of walk, jog as they build up their fitness, because the minute they try to do like an easy run, even though maybe they might be really trying to stick to that heart rate, they start creeping into Zone 3. It's just really hard for a beginner, and oftentimes they just need to start with Zone 1. And again, and being strict with only Zone 2 often leads to fatigue or burnout. For some people, trying to stay at the top end of Zone 2 might be too challenging, and in reality, it's okay to go into Zone 1, but even to walk, right? It's not a sin to do run-walk workouts for a long run, right? Training is a spectrum. You use both. So top benefits of each zone. So Zone 1, again, is recovery. It could help you restore your energy, restore glycogen, right? Using the food that you've consumed, right? So you're not completely sedentary. You're not sitting on a couch and not doing anything, right? So you go for a walk, right? Go for a walk, get your body moving, get the food that you eat and have your body store that food as like a fuel for future use. So you could now start restoring glycogen stores, help promote blood flow circulation. It's very gentle on the system, doesn't stress the system, and it keeps you moving on your off days, right? Could be your active recovery. And again, you don't even have to run. If you're a beginner, you could just go for a walk. Zone 2, this is where you build your aerobic base, right? Boost your mitochondrial density, increases fat oxidation, where you burn your fat. improve your heart stroke volume, right? So your heart's gonna be able to pump more blood, increase the kind of the pump in the heart, and build the long distance capacity at a lower energy cost, right? So now you could sustain long runs, right? If you're training for a marathon, this is gonna be your bread and butter, that zone two training. But doesn't mean you don't do also zone one, right? You could do zone one and zone two within the same workout, like I already explained. Warm up and cool down zone one, and the bulk of the workout could be zone two. So, how do you know you're in which zone you're in without going to a lab and getting it tested with like an exercise physiologist? Zone one, you can sing, right? You're barely breathing harder. It's leisurely, like you don't need a break at all, right? This should be very easy. Now, if you're a complete beginner, even zone one might be challenging, and that's fine. But as you get fitter, you'll notice that zone one you can sustain for hours. Like this is like you could do an ultra marathon at a zone one. Zone two, you can talk, but you're likely just working a little bit harder, right? It's conversational pace, but it's not something you might be able to do a half marathon, like 2 hours, but you may have to ramp it back down to zone one if you're a beginner. And you could use a heart rate monitor, right, to get more precision, right? You could get like a wristwatch heart rate monitor to see, hey, the 50 to 60% versus 60 to 70%, or just start with a talk test. Now, it might be a little bit tricky for beginners, but you'll start figuring out like which is zone one or zone two. And if you're in doubt, you think of zone one as your walking or very gentle jog, and then zone two, the transition point to running. For most people, that walk to run transitions around 13-minute per mile pace. Now, again, it may vary a bit. If you find that you have to go at 15-minute per mile pace, you might as well just walk, right? You could walk and still get the benefits of fitness, improving your health and fitness. And as you get fitter, you'll be able to tolerate, be able to sustain like a 13 per minute pace without being so overly fatigued. So, what beginners need to know? Many beginners, again, can't just jump into zone two running. They have to do run walk. Why? Because for them, any running at all puts them right above the aerobic threshold. They start even going to zone three. This is why I often recommend doing walk jog intervals or walk very slow run intervals. Also doing incline treadmill walking to build up your speed. If you're more advanced, by like, oh, I don't even want to walk, you go do incline treadmill walking as a way to do zone two, and even to slow it down to do zone one as well. So you could benefit from doing incline walking or incline treadmill walks or uphill walking. Even on a race, if like you want to kind of preserve your energy, you go walk the hills instead of trying to run up the hills, so you don't creep up too much and waste too much energy. So you can stay more in that zone one, zone two. If you're trying to pace yourself and just finish your first race or finish a really long marathon or ultra marathon. So walking has its place, and in fact, elite runners used to do walking as a form of cross training for recovery and cross training. So studies show that elite athletes spend usually anywhere from like 70 to 80% of the time in zone two. But they also spend some time in zone one, especially, again, around recoveries, key workouts, deload phases, and it ties into like an 80-20 approach quite well. So when I first got into running, I thought I was training smart by staying in what I thought was zone two, but I wasn't tracking heart rate or really monitoring intensity. I was kind of just going by feel and not really sure what I was doing. And it turns out I was actually spending most of my time in zone three, and I was always tired, not getting faster. I was actually starting to slow down. My legs starting to feel like bricks. Once I started using a heart rate monitor and actually starting also doing some zone one as part of my warm up and cool down and recovery days, everything changed. Now I help runners like you do the same without guessing. And if you want to run smarter, recover better, and actually hit PRs without burning out, check out my free training. A link in the description below. You'll learn how to build a training plan that includes the right types of training for your goals and your fitness levels.